Hello everyone, and today I will be presenting about my project I just submitted. When I first started brainstorming the ideas for this project, I knew I wanted to write something that combines storytelling and analysis. Sports journalism to me is unique because it's not just about listing scores or stats. It's about telling a story behind those numbers, like who stepped up, what moment changed the game, or how did emotion and momentum change from one team to the other. So I treated this assignment as a way to explore that dynamic side of reporting. My approach began with researching how real college recaps were written, like from places like the ESPN, The Athletic, and Sports Illustrated. I paid close attention to how professional journalists balance factual play-by-play details with human emotions and quotes that give the story life. I also wanted my writing to feel like a weekly newsletter. I wanted it to be short, focused stories with a professional tone and strong headlines. The idea was that a reader could quickly skim through and still feel like they were informed. But if they wanted to read deeper, each article offered context, perspective, and key takeaways. Before writing this, I drafted an outline for each article. I drafted out the headline, the central storyline, the key stats, and one or two emotional moments to highlight. For example, in the Oregon versus Indiana game, the key storyline was a massive upset. An underdog Indiana team walking into one of the toughest stadiums in the country and pulling off a historic win. That becomes the heart of that section. Now, why I chose this type of story, you might ask. I decided to focus on college football because it combines two things I love: football and storytelling. College football has a unique atmosphere compared to the pros. They have passionate fans, emotional rivalries, and unpredictable outcomes. I want this project to show that passion. The Oregon-Indiana game gave me the perfect narrative. A powerhouse team being stunned at home by a determined underdog. That's the kind of story every sports fan talks about for days afterward. Also, the Ohio State versus Illinois game gave a perfect contrast. A powerhouse team surviving a physical, grinded out matchup, and the Texas versus Oklahoma game brought in the emotion of that rivalry, which gave the newsletter a nice balance of themes: dominance, adversity, and redemption. So, in essence, I didn't just pick random games. I picked stories that represented different sides of competition: the shock of an upset, the resilience of a champion, the intensity of tradition. Now, the audience for this newsletter was mostly college football fans, especially those who enjoy reading recaps and opinions after a busy Saturday. I wanted to write for readers who appreciate smart analysts but still want an entertaining read. At the same time, I didn't want to be so technical that only hardcore fans would be able to understand it. I aimed for a tone that was balanced, professional, but still conversational. I imagined my readers being anyone from college students to alumni to casual sports reader followers who just enjoy the excitement of game day. To engage that audience, I focused on pacing and energy. I used active verbs like stormed, sealed, and delivered to keep the writing lively. I also used transition words like meanwhile or in contrast to connect stories and make the newsletter flow smoothly, as if the readers were only being guided from one game to the next. Now, the visuals were a major part of my creative process. I wanted each photo to capture an emotion, emotion, and meaning, not just fill space. For instance, the image of Oregon's quarterback Dante Moore stepping back to throw shows the tension of that game, symbolizing pressure and expectation. And then the photo of Ohio State's defender making a huge tackle represents grit and intensity, the qualities that define every Big Ten football game. And the Texas-Oklahoma photo captures the chaos and excitement of one of college football's most iconic rivalries. I also pay attention to the layout and readability. I use bold headings, clear subheadings, and short paragraphs. I treat it like a newspaper spread where the visuals and text work together to pull the reader in. I wanted it to feel dynamic, like a professional publication rather than just an essay. Now, I think one of my biggest strengths was how cohesive the project felt. The writing, structure, and visuals all tied together around a central theme: the emotion and unpredictability of college football. I was also very proud how authentic the reporting felt. I mean, I wrote them as if they just happened today, even though it happened a couple days ago. I gave specific details, quotes, and stats that made the stories feel like it just happened. However, though, every project has areas for improvement. One weakness was space. I had so much more I wanted to include, like detailed team stats, post-game interviews, and deeper historical context for each of these rivalries I put in. I also think adding player spotlights or a short editor's note could have made it even more like a real newsletter publication. If I was producing this, though, for a real newspaper or an online publication, there would be several key differences. First, it would be a collaborative process. Editors reviewing my work, photographers capturing the exact moments I described, and layout designers handling the visual side. I would also have to work on a tight deadline, balancing accuracy and speed, a skill every journalist needs. Fact checking would also be very crucial, as well as adhering to the publication's style guide. In that sense, the project gave me a small glimpse of what it's like to work in media and having to manage structure, style, and timing all on my own. Overall, this project was probably one of my favorite assignments I've had to do this year because it let me merge creativity with structure. I learned how important it is to plan ahead, not just to write well, but to think visually and strategically. I also gained a better understanding of how to write for a specific audience, balancing entertainment with professionalism. This assignment reminded me that journalism isn't just about reporting facts. It's about connecting with readers, whether through a dramatic headline, a strong visual, or a vivid description. Every element should make the audience feel something. If I was to take one thing away from this experience, it's that writing about sports or any topic in general works best when you focus on the human element. The emotions, the reactions, and the expected twists that are what make most of these stories very memorable. Looking back, this project has definitely improved my writing, my organization, and even my confidence in creating something that feels real and polished. It also made me appreciate how much effort goes into professional news production, from writing to design to audience engagement. So to wrap up, the College Football Week 7 newsletter was more than just an article. It was an opportunity to step into the shoes of a journalist and a storyteller. It allowed me to practice structure, creativity, and professionalism in one project. It challenged me to think about how every word, image, and design choice impacted the audience experience. And ultimately, it taught me how to communicate more clearly and effectively, not just as a writer, but as a creator as well. So I want to thank you for taking the time to listen to my presentation today.